so good to see you. Thank you. You can put that right. Yes. Thank you very much. God bless you. May the Lord always bless you and keep you. It's so good to see you. Thank you. Please keep moving. Reverend Williams.
From gut-wrenching Pueblo, Colorado, it's another thrilling episode of Kerry Fox Live.
Most of what is misunderstood, I think, about my stuff on Facebook is that I'm, mostly joking. I'm mostly joking, and I guess I got on the nerves of some Bernie supporters. I'm sorry about all of that, okay? I'm sorry. I apologize.
This president's foreign policy is the most feckless in American history. He's so naive, he would trust the Iranians, and he would take the Israelis and basically march them to the door of the oven.
Oh, man, did you hear that? Oh, he's going to march them to the door to the oven. Oh, I know you've already heard that. But Mike Huckabee has since doubled down on that statement. I don't plan to go into all of that in detail, because you already know about it. Huckabee says that kind of thing on a regular basis. He can also call for fire to rain down from heaven. That's fairly impressive too, I think. But this show is not about Mike Huckabee today. This show is about something else entirely. Welcome to Kerry Fox Live, a futile attempt to promote truth and common sense in a world gone mad. Just me and my drunken stupor pontificating upon the hypocrisies of our times. A show for liberals, a liberal show.
But what am I talking about?
Well, I'm not talking today about the Iran deal. I'm not doing that. The Iran deal, the nuke deal, is going to happen no matter what ridiculous things Mike Huckabee has to say.
I would be willing to stand all by myself, but to call fire from heaven and believe that God will answer.
Okay, there it is. He really did say that. And Mike Huckabee also doubled down on those first few comments you heard at the top of the show about marching Israel to the oven doors and all. So here's the double down, Huckabee's double down on that. Here's the clip on that.
Why would you want to make a deal with people that won't quit that rhetoric? Now, if they made some concessions to preconditions and said we won't continue to call America the Great Satan say death to America.
Okay, I think I've got it now. He's okay with the deal, but only if Iran will stop saying nasty things about America, like death to America. Now, why couldn't John Kerry and the team get Iran to agree to talk nicer? What a failure this agreement is, huh? Lord. The Iran nuke deal, man, it's both a brilliant strategic accomplishment and it's a foreign policy success. The Republicans are naturally against it. It's going to get the president the Nobel Peace Prize again. The Iran nuke deal is just what the right-wing fascist conservatives have said all along that they want. Only they don't want it now because Obama. They're also willing to start a war over it. That's right. They're willing to send you or someone you love to fight the friggin' thing, this time in Iran or thereabouts. Remember what happens to Israel if we don't attack Iran.
March them to the door of the oven.
And then he doubled down on it. Yes, he did. By the way, what's eating Republicans up alive? It's eating them up alive. Besides the fact that they can't have war unless the Iran deal is broken, what's eating them up alive is that they can't do all that much to stop the Iran deal. They don't realize absolutely nobody wants another war. Not just the majority of Americans are sick of war, but cooler heads and nations across the globe, they don't want one either. The rest of the world doesn't want to be dragged into another profit-generating war for right-wingers and corporations in the Middle East. We don't want any more no-bid contracts, okay? The partners who got Iran to the table and got this agreement, they don't want another war. The Obama administration doesn't want it, but the extremists, the fascists, and the Republican Party do want a war. They want a war in the Middle East, fought in a place where they believe they can begin Armageddon and hasten the return of Jesus. And
to call fire from heaven and believe that God will answer.
They almost had it working. I mean, they almost had it working in Iraq, in ancient Mesopotamia. Endless war. They just ran out of endless Republican votes. That's all. Now, the prospect for peace without nukes, well, that's especially offensive to those who want to hasten the return of Jesus. People like Mike Huckabee, who is running for president because God told him to. Mike Huckabee is on record as being firmly against peace with Iran. He doesn't want peace with Iran. He wants them to continue their work toward a nuclear bomb, a nuclear device, so we can invade at the cost of tens of thousands of troops and their families, at the cost of trillions of dollars, and at a massive profit for corporations that make the bulk of their money selling munitions, helicopters, and bombs. Let's not forget the bombs. Please remember to bring the bombs. After all, we don't want to march Israel
to the door of the oven.
I mean, that's how crazy these religious right people really are. They're that crazy. They believe the best way to begin Jesus and his reign of peace and love on earth is to blow millions of people up with nukes, and the sooner the better. That's how crazy God is if these yahoos are right and any of this nonsense is something that God wants. But I'm not talking today about the nuke deal with Iran. No! I'm not talking about Mike Huckabee and his apocalyptic take on foreign policy, although we should be talking about Mike Huckabee and his apocalyptic take on foreign policy because he wants to start a thermonuclear war so Jesus will come back sooner than God plans. I'm talking about doubling down. That's what I'm talking about. Republicans always double down, and no one ever counters their double down. I don't know if you've realized that, but Republicans always double down. Republicans will say something incredible, like Mike Huckabee says something incredible. The world will be outraged, and then that Republican will double down on what he or she said. Just like Mike Huckabee doubled down on his remarks about how the Iran deal will march Israel
to the door of the oven.
Other Republicans are famous for doubling down on stupid things that they have said too. Sarah Palin has doubled down. Mike Pence, governor of Indiana, he's doubled down. That fruitcake Iowa Congressman Steve King doubles down about Latinos. Rick Perry was going to double down the last cycle, but he couldn't remember on which three things he was going to double down about. George W. Bush always doubled down. Reagan. To defend the beliefs of some of the real wackos and what they believe, like the Huckster, Mike Huckabee, you had better get ready to do a lot of doubling down if you are a right-wing conservative Republican. Because what you believe really, really sucks. And you need to double down on a regular basis, not to convince anyone else, but to convince yourself. You've got to have yourself convinced. And just look at the Republican field. They're thoroughly convinced. Now, when God tells you and 16 other people to run for the Republican presidential nomination, you need all the pomposity you can possibly muster. So you have to double down a lot. A lot. And you have to mention God, and that's another thing. God, the conservative Republican, has not only doubled down, he has tripled down and then multiplied it by 5. That's some serious double downing right there. And all of this, of course, leads me to my point today. It's time for me, yes, me, to double down right here on this show. That's right, especially now that Donald Trump has exposed the other Donald Trumps in the Republican presidential nominating process. And now we know about God's plot to capture the GOP nomination, as I suspected from the very beginning that he would. That's the first thing I'm doubling down on today. That's right, I'm doing a double down. My first double down is that God is the real stealth candidate here. Whichever conduit he uses in the Republican Party, whichever person, I use the term loosely, this election centers on God, God's godliest candidate, and a candidate who can speak on God's behalf with authority, regards the nitwits who believe that a human being can actually channel God and so they vote Republican. It will be God Almighty who actually wins the GOP nomination. That's right. That's why he told all of those people to run. It was all a diversion like I predicted. That's my first double down. My second double down is a prediction I've already doubled down on before. So this is a double down. But I have already made my prediction as to which of the shining turds running for the GOP presidential nomination will capture that glorious mantle. I've already made my prediction about which conduit through which God himself will flow. And now that Donald Trump has wrecked the Republican presidential primary, I can see my prediction coming true right before my eyes. I say it here, it comes out there. Trump means the end for Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and possibly Scott Walker. That's who he's going to take aim at next. Remember, Jeb was supposed to be the most electable GOP candidate. Trump is flushing the establishment down the sewer pipe. There's some argument about where it belongs. The Donald will pave the way for the godliest candidate in the race, and that candidate will be Mike Huckabee. Oh, yes!
And that is what I'm talking about.
Mike Huckabee is the anointed one, God's chosen, and the one candidate who will march the GOP to a massive defeat at the hands of Hillary Clinton. Huckabee is the one who will be left standing after the GOP establishment is finally and completely destroyed by the very monster it created. In the end, God's chosen will trump Donald Trump. Hopefully, the Donald will run as an independent and Hillary will get the 50-state margin. And then the GOP's lesson will be the same as it always is. We weren't conservative enough. To prove my point, here is yet another case of God's candidate, Mike Huckabee, doubling down on yet another controversial issue.
We don't do breast enhancements.
What?
Well, if we're going to do it for somebody who says they're transgender, would we not do it for a female who said, I'd feel better about myself if I was a 38D rather than a 34A?
Okay, that obviously is not the clip I was looking for. That's not the clip I was referring to. But it is interesting, isn't it? Not only can Mike Huckabee double down, but he can also double and triple D.
Hey, man, I'm joining a religious cult.
Now, that's ridiculous.
Well, I'm joining it, so you gotta sign up, too.
What are you talking about?
Hey, don't fuck me on this, man. Just sign up.
No, I'm not gonna join a cult.
I can't believe you're pulling this shit on me after Monday night.
What?
I wanted to watch Monday Night Football, and you wanted to watch that other show, and we watched your show. I did that for you.
Yeah, well, you kept flipping back to the game.
I wanted to see the fucking score! What do you gotta do that's so fucking important? You can't join the religious cult with me!
Well, I was gonna go sunbathing.
Oh, boy. No, I don't think you should do that, because this guy Russell, he's the leader guy of the cult. Yeah. He was rambling on during one of his speeches about the sun being bad. Like the beast can't come out because the sun's too bright and it hurts his eyes or something. You show up all sunburned, that guy's gonna be pissed at you and me.
Well, I'm not in the cult, so I don't have to worry about pissing the leader guy off.
Look, I'm starting to believe in some of the stuff the cult guy's been saying. Some of it makes a lot of sense.
Well, good, but I don't want to join the cult. I can still hang out, I just won't be in it with you.
The point is, I'm not gonna have time to hang out with you because I'm gonna be fucking busy with this fucking cult.
So I'll visit on weekends. We'll work it out.
No, the weekends are like the busiest time. That's when we go to flea markets and fucking malls and talk people into joining, man.
Can I just join for a little while? I told my dad I'd visit him in Florida in 3 weeks.
You'll ask them, but we gotta join now.
Well, what's the hurry?
There's a girl I wanna meet there. What the fuck's your problem?
Well, I mean, I don't really have to believe in this stuff, do I?
No. Just fucking tell everybody you believe in this shit. When they say the sun sucks, go, yeah, fuck the sun. I fucking hate it too. Long live the fucking beast.
I don't know, man. This is crazy.
Look, they're gonna give you clothes. They're gonna give you a free haircut. You're gonna get food.
It's not gonna be one of those weird haircuts, is it?
It's gonna be a haircut, alright? You said you need a haircut. They're gonna fucking cut your hair. You're going in saving $12. Just fucking do it!
You think the hot girl has a friend for me?
Probably. I don't. And if she doesn't, she'll go out and recruit one for you.
Well, all right. But hey, if I don't like it, I'm going to escape, man.
Okay, that's up to you.
3 weeks later.
The night time is the right time. The night time is the right time. The night time is the right time.
Hey, buddy. Are you glad you did this?
Oh, this is the best thing I ever did. Thank you.
And you're not mad at them making you kill your father, are you?
You know, it's like they said. It was the only way to save him.
You're a good guy.
You're a better one.
The night is the right time. The night time is the right time. All right. The night time is the right time. Hear that? The night time is the right time. The night time is the right time.
What is a fighter? To me, a fighter is someone who won't give up.
To me, a fighter is someone who's passionate about what they believe in and that will make a difference in people's lives. In September 1995, I was at the UN conference in Beijing.
The history of women has been a history of silence.
Many people in our own government, in our Congress, did not want me to go to Beijing, but you don't shy away from confronting human rights abuses.
It is a violation of human rights when babies are denied food or drowned or suffocated simply because they are born girls.
The entire conference hall exploded in this energy and enthusiasm.
Human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights once and for all.
Hearing the words that she spoke, she taught me that there were no limits to what I could achieve.
I want to get up every single day, going to work for you, standing up for you,
and I think by now people know I don't quit.
the GOP presidential race, Mike Huckabee, the godliest candidate. I don't want to go too deep into the attributes toward that goal because I might need to throw up. But the main reason may be that the right-wing God will triumph over the Vladimir Putin-like character of Trump. They both mostly favor the same sort of fascism against Americans and the world, too. They both want war for different reasons. Trump for profit, Huckabee because it's biblical. So if either won the presidency, I might begin believing in doomsday scenarios myself, and that's something I don't usually believe in. It all just depends on how far gone the GOP truly is, and that's pretty far. Let's look at the pro-Trump side of the equation. Here's fascist radio host Michael Savage talking about Donald Trump's attributes.
We have a de facto dictatorship right now. We need a de facto dictatorship on the other side of the aisle for 50 years to straighten out the mess that was created from Bill Clinton going forward. If what we have devolved to in this nation is ruling by decree, then I would say that Trump is even more important than ever, because let him rule by decree and let him straighten the country out and let him start with a fence on the Mexican border. What would be wrong with that? He could probably order that fence built by illegals themselves.
And he was hollering at one of his listeners. That's how he got started on that rant. Michael Savage, Donald Trump supporter, hollering at one of his listeners about fascism that he thinks we already have, but really we don't. Those were all lies that he was saying. Those were lies. Now, later in that same show, Savage also said that Trump, well, he described Trump as the, quote, bold white leader that Americans have been praying for all this time. And he went on, we finally seen a white man with you know what. With you know what. I'm guessing ball. When they say that, they're talking about balls. They like balls in the Republican Party. Quote, finally a white man stood up with you know what and said go to hell to his enemies, and if you don't like it, take a walk. America's been waiting for him. They've been praying for him. Okay. All right, there you go. So there you go. There is also a religious angle on the Trump side. It's, I guess it's a Hobson's choice with the fascist Republicans after all. So I guess I can't really tell the difference, but I did try to discern that difference. I can tell you this. These lunatics, these psychopaths, could get us all killed. Kerry Fox Live is on YouTube. That's right. It's actually been there for quite some time now, but now we're actually posting to that page. Stop by, watch, listen, and rally with me on YouTube as I go face-to-face with the right-wing fascists. That's right, on YouTube. That address is youtube.com/user/Kerry Fox Live. So join us there and save that link. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. The show is also on Facebook. Stop by and like the page. I'd appreciate that. Visit KerryFoxLive.com and listen to all of the shows in the entire archive. And I think we're hooked up with Facebook to some degree. I don't know for sure at KerryFoxLive.com because my geek days ended years ago. But the show is on Facebook, and I do have some Facebook stuff on the page at KerryFoxLive.com. Share the show with all of your leftist friends and join me on Twitter for current political news at Kerry Fox Live. Thanks once again for listening to me spew as I do. Until next time, this is Kerry Fox saying...
This is how absurd this gets. This gets absurd. This was maybe a pretty cool place because I'm standing on Mount Carmel in Israel, and behind me is the Jezreel Valley. Some people call it the Valley of Armageddon. It's been the site of many of the great battles in the world and the site of the ultimate battle of all humankind. But it was Mount Carmel that an amazing thing happened. Elijah the prophet stood on this very place, and it was here that he challenged the prophets of Baal to make sure that there was